Hello my friend, I went from an amateur to a pro mixer earning over £500 a month working from my home studio in under 6 months. I want to share with you how I did that. Let's dive straight in. So about 10 years ago, I put this out, which was kind of like my last ever solo album. I was super pleased with it. I still am super pleased with it, but it took an awfully long time to make and it was really tiring too, and it didn't kick back me really any income at all. At that point, I was about to become a father, life was going to change, and I needed to change my approach to business and kind of accept that being a singer-songwriter wasn't going to be my path. So I had to look at my skill set and work out what I could do with it to generate an income. Now, I really enjoyed mixing and mastering and producing music, but as I said, it was incredibly tiring. If you're in that position too, when you're a songwriter and the creator and you're also the producer and the mixer and the arranger and the performer, the masterer, and then you've got to go out and promote the thing too, it's incredibly tiring. So I had to knock a fair chunk of that out and pull out and extract exactly what I wanted to do. And it was really the mixing which interested me the most at that point. So that was the service that I wanted to put out into the world. But with no client base whatsoever, I wasn't too sure where to start. So I started here and it worked out incredibly well. In fact, it worked way better than I was expecting. What I did was to put together a marketing strategy, and my strategy was to put my services out for a period of 6 months for free in order to get a lot of clients in on my database. I still believe making contact with clients and getting in and showing clients what you can do and offering them some value is the best way to run an online business, certainly compared to if you were starting out thinking you were going to just chuck a whole bunch of money at Facebook ads. I would also say, like in those early green stages, it gets you a little bit of experience as well with working with clients. You get that little bit of time as well to work out whether it really is something that you want to do. So here's what I did 10 years ago. Now, some of these sites have changed since then that you may use, but really the principles are the same. I put some ads up on Facebook, on Craigslist, and on Gumtree. It was Gumtree UK, also South Africa, also Australia, and it really advertised worldwide as much as possible. These days, I would definitely say get on like Facebook groups. Here in the UK, you get like, depending on what county you are, you'll find groups here. It's like musicians in Leeds, and then where I was in Norwich, some musicians in Norwich and London. There's a whole bunch of groups there too. You can join all of these. With the proviso, maybe I'd advise contacting the admin first and saying, look, I want to offer something, my services for free for the people in your group. Would you accept it if I put a post up? And most people are pretty friendly if you approach them first and tell them what you want to offer. You're not trying to charge for any services at this point, so I think it's a bit of a win-win. So it's a great way to get involved online and, you know, get involved in any places and pockets you can online to promote what you're doing. What I did was, as I say, advertise it for free for 6 months, and I had the plan after that 6 months that I would have enough clients and clients would come back to me for paid work. And that's exactly what happened. In fact, as I said, it really surprised me how many people did come back for paid work. The first few months, I was kind of inundated with too much work. It was quite a lot, quite overwhelming. But at that time I was working at the weekend, so I did have the weeks free to spend on it, and it gets a bit of a grind after a few months in because you're doing quite a lot of work, what feels like for free. But one, you're building your portfolio, you're upping your skill set, but most importantly, you're getting that client database. And within, I'd say, 2 or 3 months, paid work started coming in. What started happening was that clients were coming back to me and saying, well, would you mind just doing this as well for me? And that's the point where I started charging. And I started charging pretty low amounts at the start, maybe like £100 for a day's work, but still enough which it felt like I was getting enough value back for the services that I was offering. And then what I did after that 6-month period was always annually putting my prices up. Now, I carried on doing this for about 3 years. Now, the reason I ended up stopping was because I'd become a dad and things were just getting really super hectic in my life. And after about 3 years of online mixing, kind of didn't feel like it was my true path. But I'm so grateful that I did it. Not only did I have a really super useful side hustle, which was towards the direction which I wanted to go in my career, The extra money was incredibly helpful, and it fitted nicely around gigging at the weekends, and I could be quite flexible doing the mix work during the week. But one of the really big kickers was actually working professionally. What a difference it was from making this record, which took me months and months and months. Suddenly I was in a situation where I had to mix efficiently. If I was charging by the day and I was charging a client 250 quid for that day, then I know what their budget is and the work needs to get done on that day. So I have to work now super efficiently and to work out how to do it also consistently. Because if a client comes back to me, they're kind of after a certain sound, they like the sound of my mixes, then I don't want to give them a really totally different mix, vibe and sound. So I started understanding working with templates so I could put out something consistent, but also have my own tone and sound and style at the same time, but also have a process of working that was a lot faster and more efficient than when I was working on my own material. And if you want to speed up your workflow whilst you're mixing vocals in your home studio, I've got an awesome free vocal EQ cheat sheet. You can grab it below this video. But what I found in this process is that I'd say over 50% of people came back for work and nobody quibbled the price or balked at like, hey, I got this service for free. First off, I don't want to pay for this now. And something that really surprised me was that all of the clients were really happy to transition from free work to paid work. It was kind of expected. Yeah, of course, you've done something for free. I really liked it. Can you do this now? And how much do you charge? It was not as much of a challenge at all that I thought it would be. So if this is something that you're thinking about doing, I definitely want to offer you a few tips about what I learned during that process. One would be set boundaries right from the start, especially with regards to things like revisions, but set boundaries about exactly what work you're prepared to take on for free. There were a couple of occasions before I set boundaries that I was getting sent in like tracks with like over 100 tracks on and stuff like that. That happened like once, and then I revised that to limit the amount of tracks that I would take on in a mix, because you can get just crazy stuff sent in. At the start, I was more genre specific, but I ended up casting a really wide net. And I think that's a really good thing to do. One, because you're going to get a wider client base, but also you're going to get so much out of it in terms of experience. And there was stuff which I'd never done. There was like world music, which I'd never mixed before. There was some trance as well, which I'd never mixed before, and stuff which I would have felt uncomfortable about saying, yeah, I can mix. But because I was kind of under the safety net of it being free anyway, I was kind of like, I'll take it on, let's see how we go. Most things came out really pretty well, and again, it was surprising. Some of the clients that came back, particularly that trance client, came back and was a client of mine for a long time. So I ended up mixing music which was way out of my comfort zone, which I had to do a bit of research in, but once I kind of got into it, I found it really fun. And again, just learnt so much from the process. So yeah, definitely set your boundaries in your initial advert. Revisions is a big one. You can get caught out on that and endlessly be doing revisions week on week on week. You definitely want to limit that to, I'd say, 2 or 3, certainly when you're doing your free work. When you're doing it for paid, you can limit it to 2 or 3 and then have an add-on, say, of revisions if you like, or however you want to structure that. I'd also definitely say don't leave it too long until you start pricing for things. People will take free things off you all day long. At some point or another, you've got to start charging. And after that 6-month period, it would have been easy just to have carried on, kind of maybe being a bit more fussy about what work I took on, but not bookending it and saying, right, I'm charging now. And that's exactly what I did. Everything went from free to being paid after that process. And also annually, making sure that you do put your prices up annually, because everything else goes up annually. So you should too, because your costs will too. The other thing I would say about pricing is it's good to look at your life, look how much money that you feel that you need in order to be able to carry on doing this and doing it on the side, and look at how much money you feel that you should be getting for each mix. It's very easy indeed to undervalue your service, and that's ultimately going to lead to you kind of not wanting to do it anymore if you're not getting enough money in for the amount of work that you're putting in. And there is a sliding set of scales there, because the more you do it, and hopefully you'll feel this through that 6-month period, the more efficient you get, the quicker you get in being able to get great mix results. So there's a balance there in terms of how much you're charging, but also as you work more, how efficient you get in the mix process. And along with that, something I'd also say is don't be afraid of using time-saving plugins either. That goes along with, you know, balancing out how much you charge with how quickly you can do a job that's of a good standard, obviously. And a lot of plugins these days are out there. They're going to really massively help and speed up that process. So don't feel like you're a bit of a fraud if you're using some of those plugins for paid work. At the end of the day, if it sounds good, it is good. And finally, my other tip is something which I've mentioned already, but I want to underline is I definitely say cast your net wide. You could be working with someone doing some voiceover work or doing an audiobook one day. The next day you could be working with a metal band, and the next day you could be doing maybe a women's choir or something. Just cast your net really wide, because the amount of experience is going to be vast. But also it's all about building up that portfolio. It's all about building up that client base. And in that crucial 6 months, you just want to get as much in as possible. If you want to learn more about efficient mixing, I've got a free 7-step mix guide. You can grab that below this video. And if you want to learn more about how to live your life as a creative and how to feel comfortable taking risks in your life in order to get the lifestyle and live the creative life that you want to live, I've got an awesome book out. It's called The Art of No Plan B. It's only £9.99 GB pounds. You can grab that from the link below this video. And if you've got any questions at all about working online, about mixing online, if you want to pick my brains about my experiences, just let me know in the comments box below. I love to hear from you whilst you're there. If you got something out of this video today, please do like and subscribe. Don't forget your freebies below, your 7-step mix guide. You've got your vocal EQ cheat sheet. And most importantly, go and have yourself a great day. Now, if you enjoyed this video, you're definitely going to want to check this next one out.